Hi, everyone. My name is Julie Byrne, and I'm a senior solution architect on the commercial team. I am going to take you today through a new project that I have just contributed to the CS shared demo space on LearnLabs. And I'm really excited about this because it is something that I've been working on with a group of people for quite some time in terms of producing realistic demo data for which we can demonstrate agile portfolio and project planning and tracking. And there has been a whole working group that has been participating. So let me go ahead and just share a little bit of those details with you. So you can find the working group in our handbook. It's the Demo and Test Data Working Group. I was introduced to this working group by Tim Poffenbarger because he knew that I was trying to find a way to produce burn down charts and demo data that didn't get stale because I never updated the start and end dates of initiatives and all of that. I've been working fairly closely with a number of people on this team. I'd like to thank Grant Young and Dan Davison for providing their guidance and expertise. And I'd really like to thank Siddharth Mathur as well for doing a couple of things. First of all, creating an export tool that allowed me to export my current group and project data from my demo instance into a Ruby format that the data seeder will then suck in to create new demo data. There's a bit of massaging of the Ruby code that we have to do in the process after the export, but it was a great starting point, so we didn't have to start from scratch. And so let me take you through a bit about what this project looks like. If I forgot anyone in the demo data working group, thank you all. It's been a great experience. Vinci, thank you too. All right, everyone, here is the project. It lives underneath GitLab Learn Labs, the CS shared demo space, project management, and it's called GitLab Project Management Data Import. This project is really just a README file with some instructions, a wiki page with a demo script, and a Ruby file that is used to import a bunch of demo data using the GitLab seed, the GitLab data seeder. It used to be called AwesomeCo. I have to change that in the overview, but it's a GitLab data seeder. And there are some instructions linked here on how to run the data seeder. The instructions take you through just spinning up GitLab in a Docker container and then installing the appropriate test resources and copying the Ruby file over to the correct place and then running the seeder. So you can follow that. Here's what I like about this approach, particularly for Agile portfolio and project management. We're able to define a standard group and project hierarchy that's nice and clean, that allows us to talk about Agile programs or teams of teams. And we're able to define milestones as our mid-range planning cadence that are consistently defined across the group and projects. We are also defining a common iteration cadence, in this case, a standard 2-week sprint at the group level across the team of teams. We have defined standard labels. Feel free to tweak these labels to whatever types and terminology you are used to using or more comfortable with. I've just created a work item type scoped label for initiative, feature, story, bug, and improvement, a work item status, simple project backlog in progress and awaiting acceptance, a work item priority, high, medium, and low. And all of those work item labels are used at both the epic and the issue level. And then I created a label specifically for initiative type epics, and that's initiative theme. And that's for more of the portfolio level business planning aspect of things that you'll see in the demo. I did define a hierarchy of epics with initiatives as the top level and features as the second level, and some epic boards and some individual project level issue boards as well. As I said, there is a wiki page here, so you can go and click that link, and it does give you a script for how to use the demo data that you're going to seed into your GitLab instance to show Agile portfolio and project planning. Again, this is an MVC. There's some enhancements we can do, some wording tweaks, and better showing the value proposition in some cases, but I think this is a really good starting point to get us to consistently reproducible, usable, Agile demos. Now, there's a lot more work that we want to do on this. So we haven't built out all the development flow with the merge request and the CI jobs running and the scan results showing in the merge request and all of that. That is what we want to focus on next. So Sid and I are going to continue to work on that. And we would love for others to join us in this effort and continue to build out an entire end-to-end demo flow that we can easily import into a GitLab instance and use and have it clean and fresh every single time we do a demo. So that's the goal. Well, now I'm going to actually take you through this demo flow that I've defined for Agile portfolio planning and tracking. So I ran the data seeder and it created this gold Agile program. You can change the name of that to whatever you want. Here I have a group and project structure that reflects a set of teams working together in an Agile program. In this case, we have a one-to-one mapping in terms of the way that teams work. So we have one team that's working on the online shopping site and one team that's working on the corporate website. And we have a security project for policy enforcement that we're going to do later on as an enhancement. So we have two teams working together in an Agile program. And we can see that we have defined milestones. As I mentioned before, milestones we're using for mid-range planning, or what I call program increments, or the Scaled Agile Framework calls program increments, or PIs. So I've created two different program increments, PI1 and PI2. We're in the beginning of program increment 1 right now, in the first iteration of program increment 1. I should point out, and the one thing I forgot to point out in the data seeder, but let me go back to that first because it's really important. All of these dates are relative dates. So when you start to look through the Ruby file that was created, the Ruby file that was created here, you will notice that as we are creating the different types of objects, let me see if I can find a milestone quickly. Anything that has a date associated with it, we have relative dates that can be used. So great. You can use days, weeks, months. You can add, so you can say 8 days ago plus 2 weeks as an end date for an iteration as an example. So this is really one of the keys to this pretty demo data that we can use for Agile. The other one is in creating the burn charts. There is resource event. There are a set of resource events that have to be created every time you add an issue to an iteration, add an issue to a milestone, wait the issue, close the issue, reopen the issue. Those are all events that get logged in the database that influence what you see on the burn charts. Right, so that data is used to generate the burn charts. So if I just look for a resource event, so here's a set of events we have for an issue, a wait event, a milestone event. There are status events or state events, I forget what it's called, and iteration events as well. So take a look through all of that in the Ruby file that seeds the data, and you'll start to see how all of this comes together for a pretty demo data. Okay, back to our demo. So we start by introducing the concept of a group representing an Agile program and the projects representing teams. And then we talk about planning cadences. Program increment 1 and program increment 2 are mid-range planning time boxes that we're using. And then for iterations, we defined a standard iteration cadence that are 2-week sprints. And once we have all of that, both of the teams are working on the same cadences, the same iteration cadence, and the same program increment cadence. So we can start to now see how the teams are planning work and track that work at the individual team level, but also at the program level. Once I have talked about that basic setup in terms of structure to support Agile, then I like to go to the EPIC list. So here we can see the high-level initiatives or projects that we're working on. And in our case, we're going to use an EPIC hierarchy. So we have two different types of EPICs defined, a top-level initiative, and then we will break down or decompose those initiatives into individual features that the teams can work on and implement within one mid-range planning cadence. So we can see that we're using scope labels to define which are the initiatives and which are the features. And we do have the features parented up to initiatives in most cases, and we'll see that on the roadmap, but you will also see that in any initiative details page, what the parent EPIC is, if there is one. We have a standard set of labels that we're using to track our status, just to track the workflow of both the the EPIC, and also the underlying issues. We will use the same scope labels to track the workflow of those issues as well. And then we have a theme that we're using for our top-level initiatives. Portfolio managers like to be able to correlate the different initiatives that they are defining and prioritizing with the different pillars or themes that an organization has defined for development in terms of where they're going to focus their development spend. And I've actually created a board called initiatives by theme. So we can start to, as a portfolio manager, see how many different initiatives do we have in each theme, get to the details of those initiatives, see when we're planning to start and end those. We can open the initiative details, of course, and then see how the initiative is progressing in terms of work breakdown to features, and then feature breakdown to stories. So if I open the Cloud Native Shopping app, here I can see the hierarchy of the different features that we have defined for this particular initiative. And we can drill down further and see the underlying stories that have been defined by the product owners for each feature that are going to be implemented by the teams working on these different applications. So it's great to be able to see the EPICs in a list view and manage them with labels. It's also great to be able to manage them on a board to just drive better visibility and prioritization. On the boards, we can drag and drop if we think that something is in the wrong category associated to the wrong theme. We can move it to the other column to add the appropriate theme to it. We also have the ability, of course, to create new initiatives here as we go and just have them automatically associated with the appropriate theme based on the column that we are creating the initiative in. Once I have my initiatives organized and prioritized, I can also drag and drop to re-rank prioritize the initiatives. So that is something that's helpful for a portfolio manager who's trying to understand what's highest priority. Once I have all of that defined, we can add plan start and end dates on our initiatives, or we can inherit them from the child features and underlying stories, issues associated to those features. And that will help us to define our roadmap. So which initiatives are we going to work on at which times? How do we start to plan for when initiatives and corresponding features will be released and available to our customers? That's all defined in our roadmap view. And here we have a nice roadmap view that shows our top-level initiative for Cloud Native Shopping app. It also shows the underlying features associated to our Cloud Native Shopping app. These are the features we're going to implement to complete this initiative. And we can see progress reporting. So we can actually see for those features based on the issues defined for those features, how much progress we're making. In this case, we are reporting based on the weight of the issues, think story point values or plan estimate values on each of those issues. If you don't size your stories and bug fixes, you can then just use a count of issues instead of weight. But this roll up goes all the way from the features all the way up to the top level parent epic. So we can see the progress we're making on the initiative as a whole as well. So this is really great. We can dig into additional details if we would like, just to see, where we're making progress, where we might be stuck. I can go, for example, and open this one-click checkout feature to see the details of it. Here is one-click checkout, and we can see all of the issues that we have defined to implement the one-click checkout feature. We can see which of the issues are already done, and we can see which of the issues are still in progress and being worked on. Now, again, we have our standard status scoped labels to track the workflow from it being in our backlog to in progress to awaiting acceptance by the product owner. And then once they're closed, that means that they're done. We can also see the weight that we've added to each of these issues. This is our size of the stories and bug fixes that we're implementing. And we can see that each of these are scheduled into our mid-range planning time box or program increment 1 milestone. We can also then see the individual issue details just by clicking on the link to each individual issue. So here's our change image and background issue. And we can see, for example, that it's in program increment 1. We can also see the iteration that the issue is scheduled for. We are currently working through our first iteration, which started May 25th and ends on June 7th. And that's what this particular issue is scheduled into. Typically here in the description, we would have a full, Agile description with definition of done, acceptance criteria, and all of that. But we kind of cut corners in this case and decided to work on this issue anyway. But this also allows us to see all the running history of what's happened with this issue as we have refined it and planned it into our program increment and into our iteration. Now, this makes me curious to see what else is scheduled for our current iteration. What is the team working on as a whole? And there's a couple of different ways that we can go about seeing that. One is to open up the iterations and start to look at the details of the current iteration. And here we can see our burn chart. Burn charts, plural. There's a burn down and a burn up. We can see the data by the count of issues or by the total issue weight. And here we can see it's interesting. We're in this online shopping site teams iteration burn down. So we're looking at the one individual team. We can see that they started off pretty well. They got a little stuck, and then all of a sudden something happened yesterday, and we're not quite sure what. So this is interesting, but now the team is getting closer to the end of their iteration and not on track to complete their work on time. Well, if we look at the burn up chart, we can see that the total weight of issues, the sum of the weights of the issues increased. That means our scope increased in some way for the team's iteration just yesterday. So this is something we have to look into further. There's a good chance at this point that the team might not finish all of its work by the end of the iteration. So this allows us to go dig in further and find out what happened. Now we can go and look at all of the individual issues. We can see here which ones are still in progress and which are closed. And that's going to be helpful. We can open up any one of these issues to take a look at them. But I like to use the board view. It's just a little bit easier to kind of see where things are at. So I have a sprint tracking board under issue boards that I've created. The team uses this to make sure that they're managing their work effectively throughout the sprint. Now, we can see here that there are 4 items in progress. What would be a good recommendation? That's not what I wanted. Sorry. What would be a good recommendation for this team is to put a WIP limit in place so that they're not working on everything all at once. Maybe we only want to work at 1 or 2 things at a time. In this case, if I put a WIP limit of, let's just say 2, and we can go ahead and save that. Now we can see that the whole column turns red And I love this view because this is a great visual. You should not be working on everything all at once. Focus on small batch sizes, getting things done, smaller batches at a time, and there's a higher likelihood of success in completing all the work for the sprint. Also notice here that we have some swim lanes. This is a name of a feature. One-click checkout was one of those features we saw before. And that's, the bulk of the work that we're focused on right now is for one-click checkout. And we can see that there are a couple of issues without a parent. One is this improved load time. This is a bug that is high priority. Starting to realize that this may be the cause of the scope problems that we're encountering in this iteration. We can also see this update app container story doesn't have a parent. This could have been a mistake. The product owner forgot to parent it to a feature. And if that's the case, then we can drag and drop to the appropriate column to parent it to the correct feature that's on our board. So if it should have been part of one-click checkout, great. If not, we can just leave it, or we can edit it through the details page as well and find the appropriate parent for it. This improved page load time is something that I really want to dig into. So we can go ahead and open this as well. Now there is a off script for a moment. There is a known issue with opening details pages. You'll notice I had all of the pages opened already. I forgot to open this one before the demo. The known issue is that the details pages URLs are not rendering correctly on data import. That is something that we have reported and are hoping to get a fix for. So let me just put this one in. Now we're going to go back into demo mode, and here's our improved page load time. And now we can see that this was an issue that was recently created. It was created 1 day ago, and it was planned into our iteration and waited 1 day ago. So this is the team's increase in scope mid-iteration, but it is a high priority bug that they're working on fixing. So they have to go ahead and work on that before they can get back to their story work that they were working on. So going back to this sprint tracking page, we can see that we already have a lot of stuff in progress. Hopefully the team will get the bug fixed and then be able to go back to those remaining 3 stories that were already in progress. We have this 5-point story, though, to update the database schema that we're probably not going to get to as a team in this iteration, given the number of days left in the iteration. So what we can do is we can go ahead and replan this update database schema into the next sprint. So I can go ahead again, open this one up, look at the details. I should have opened this ahead of time. Okay. Look at the issue details page. Now we can see this one's in our current sprint. We can change that to the next iteration or sprint. Now we have that moved out to the next iteration. And now when we go back to our burn down chart, we are going to be able to refresh and see that we are fixing our scope problems in this iteration. So decrease in total scope, we look at by weight, it's even better, gets us down below that ideal burn line. Hopefully now we will be able to complete the rest of the 3 remaining stories by the end of the sprint based on this lower, smaller scope that we have remaining now due to replanning that other issue. So the burn down charts are really valuable. They give us a great view of progress and where there are bumps in the road, so to speak. The boards allow the team to manage their work effectively, limit WIP, and make sure they're working on the right things for the right features. And all of this progress reporting that we're doing rolls back up to our features and to our initiative level, so that at the portfolio manager level, they know that the teams are making progress on the initiatives and the underlying features for them, and they're on track for those features that they want to get out to customers. So there is our Agile portfolio and project planning and tracking demo. Thanks, everyone. I'm really excited about this data seeder. I'm really excited about the starting point for the demo data. If you have suggestions, feel free to create an issue in that project. If you want to continue to build out additional elements to add to a comprehensive demo, happy to have you join and do that. Appreciate you taking a look at this and give us some feedback. Thanks, everyone.